Hello, hello. This is Dion Brown, licensed therapist, self-care expert. You have reached another episode of an integrated approach where typically we talk about some sort of subject connected to mental health and wellness, as well as infuse spirituality. We're going to take a pivot, however, this month because June is Men's Health Month. June is Men's Health Month. So, what we're going to be doing tonight, we're going to be talking about men's health, men's physical health, men's spiritual health, financial health, social health, relationship health, and social health. We are broadcasting on our YouTube channel, DMV Therapist, on Facebook under Dion Brown, and on Instagram under the self-care_therapist. Please like, share, and invite someone with us tonight to talk. This broadcast will also be stored after tonight for those who miss it in real time. Now, tonight we are grateful because we have four phenomenal guests with us who are experts in their particular area, who are going to be joining us as we talk about men's health during Men's Health Month. First, we have Kevin Franklin. He is a fitness and leadership coach, and he's going to be talking with us about men's physical health. Next, we have licensed clinician Clifton Bright Jr., a leader and CEO of Bright House Counseling and Coaching LLC, who's going to be talking with us about men's mental health. Next, we have Mr. Donald Butler, who is the CEO of Butler Squared Consulting, who's going to be talking with us about men's financial health. And last but not least, we have DeMarcus or Mark Tyler, who is the master barber and owner of 1111 Barber Studio, who's going to be talking with us some about men's social health. And we're also going to be integrating aspects regarding men's spiritual health and relationship health. So, gentlemen, welcome tonight. Welcome to June, which is Men's Health Month. June, which is Men's Health Month. All right. So, what we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and dive on in. Talk about men's health. So June is Men's Health Month, and we have dedicated a month set aside. We've dedicated a month set aside to dealing with various aspects of men's health. So let's start there. Looking at various trends in our culture and the society regarding men and men's health and men taking care of their health a number of different ways. One would ask, do we need, and this is a general question for everyone, anyone can jump in, do we need to have an isolated month to zone in and focus in on men's health? Why or why not? Do we need a month to focus in on men's health? And everyone, make sure your microphone is off mute, please. Do we need a month to talk about men's health? All right. Anybody can chime in. Do we need a month?
I guess I'll jump in first. We definitely do need a month, typically because men often put themselves last, right? We take care of everybody else. We make sure everybody else's needs are met. We rarely talk about anything going on with ourselves. So from an awareness standpoint, we definitely need a month where we're focused on us, kind of switching everything up instead of being in the background when I've taken care of everything else. Okay, cool. Let me see what I got left for me. It's a time to kind of reflect and kind of focus on getting what we need.
Okay. Yeah, we do. We do need a month. You need a month. All right. Who else wants to chime in?
I'll chime in. So, piggying back off the last comment, 100% that I think it's that we it's hard to say we need a month, but the main thing to highlight is the awareness portion of it. Most people don't even realize that it's Men's Health Awareness Month. So just bringing it out there just for I don't want to say a check engine light, but just to take a step back to understand, like, yes, like, where do I currently stand with my body? Where's my health, my physicality? Because we're so caught up on the go that we're used to doing so much on our plate, right? But nobody really talks about the plate itself. We are the plate to do everything. So if the plate crumbles, all those other things become null and void. So just the point of having that time of awareness, I think, is the most important thing, because obviously we don't want to just, I don't think no man wants to every single month saying this is men's health. But the fact is, it's the awareness portion, just that needs to be highlighted.
Okay, yeah, I do. I agree with all of you all. So we do need some isolated time and space to really zone in and focus in on men's health. Men's health is very important. So, considering that piece, that we need to make sure we have some isolated time to zone in and really focus in on men's health. One key area regarding men's health has to deal with men's, spiritual health and wellness, right? Men's spiritual health and wellness. So that is a key area and a very much so a key element. Just curious from you guys, what daily practices tend to help you stay connected to your faith, purpose, or core values? Yeah. What practices tend to help you stay connected to your faith, purpose, or core values?
Well, I can go first. I can go with this one. And I'm a big advocate, as Dr. Cliff said, that we put ourselves on the back burner. I'm a big advocate of this term I coined of the king eats first, a better me is a better we. So what I do is I'm hyper intentional, making sure that I set the tone for the day with myself, knowing that as men, if we are men of God, head of the household, we are the ultimate ripple effect. So what does that look like? Is setting the tone of regulating my body when it comes to hydration, maybe just getting the good air that our body needs when it comes to breathing, and then really giving a form of prayer of gratitude. But also, people say mindset, but I like to focus on how do I set my mind for the day, be the thermostat, and really be intentional of, like, how do I want to show up for the day? What is my goals? What is my focus, and so forth? And that does involve forms of prayer. And that's something that I think a lot of men, which I like about the whole awareness portion as we talk about this month, is how do we set structures in place to set that on more of a daily regular basis.
Yep. So concerning men's spirituality, we do need, daily disciplines and daily practices that to put into our lives that really help center us and focus us, as men, to zone in on our core values for sure. Now, before we pivot from men's spirituality, I wonder, are there ways that we can encourage other men in reference to their spiritual growth and development?
I think the best way to encourage men is typically to just be the model, right? Because one thing about men gonna do what they want to do. Let's be real about it. You say whatever you want. You can talk as much as you want. You can complain. You can run all these programs, ads, and everything. Men are gonna do what they want to do, and oftentimes men are asked to do things that they often don't have the model to follow and how to do it, right? So I think when, as Kevin was saying, the king eats first. Watching a man put out the king eats first, right?
Yeah.
Is something you can model, because it may be the total opposite of what you've done, right? Or it might be the total opposite of how you function currently. I know, especially for me, if I'm being transparent about myself, for a long time, the concept of taking care of me first was foreign. Where I used to think if I took care of my wife, took care of my kids, took care of things in ministry, took care of extended family, friends, and everybody else, I was good. I was like, that's how I met my needs. Wasn't until I went to my own personal therapy that my therapist was like, how do you get your needs met? And I was like, what you mean, bro? I don't have no needs.
Right.
My needs are met by everybody being good. And he was like, you know how crazy that sounds?
So Cliff, while we're on that, I'm going to jump in on a particular question, for you concerning men's mental health. So, obviously today in 2026, it seems like more men are starting to access mental health services, more readily available. One of those things is that representation matters. So more men who see people who look like them, that helps.
Right.
Access to care, et cetera, et cetera. Can you share a little bit with us about how, how you see, I guess, the trend toward men engaging in their mental health, or any words of wisdom for people who might be struggling to go in to see somebody and they might know they need to?
Yeah, definitely. I love that you have this trend now that mental health is hot, right? The only concern is where you're getting information, you also have the space for a lot of misinformation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the concern always is misinformation and, are people looking at the right resources? Because the biggest thing that used to hold men from coming to mental health was, I know in the communities I was in, if you went to a therapist, you were crazy. So they're like, if you go see a therapist, you're nuts. You're psycho. Something's wrong with you. I'm not going there. So a lot of people don't know the difference between mental health and mental health illness or disorder. All of us have mental health, right? What we do emotionally, how we think about things, how we operate in relationships, how we engage with life, how we operate in the quality of our life. That is tied to our mental health, right? Mental health illnesses or disorders, they're categorized by patterns. There's also a thing called a diagnostical statistical manual that we use to actually assess if somebody has a mental health illness. Because, in the Black community, we used to always hear such and such is bipolar. Mm-hmm. Because one minute they were smiling, the next minute they were cussing you out, right? Yeah. But we actually have diagnostic information and criteria you're looking for before you actually say somebody is dealing with a mental health disorder or illness. Plus, also, people are getting to see now that just because you get diagnosed with a mental health disorder, it doesn't mean your life is over. Doesn't mean you're crazy. Doesn't mean you can't live the life you want to live. Just means you could use some support and some help, right? And also not feeling like you're alone. So I love the fact that you have so much exposure. You have a lot of great clinicians on social media platforms and going on talk shows and having their own shows who are really shining a light on mental health and getting support, especially for us men, to kind of pull away from that badge of honor of going through stuff in silence. Mm-hmm. And how that was a sign of strength, right? If I'm struggling and I ain't telling nobody, I'll just go within myself. I'll man up, and I'll handle it. But at the same time, internally, just getting devastated. So the key thing is when you check in on men, right? That can sometimes help a man get the support he needs. And when you're talking about checking in, I encourage people, don't go up to somebody and say, you need to go to therapy. Yo.
Right. Of course.
Because sometimes you're like, what you trying to say?
Yep.
But if you come from the approach of checking on the brother, I often ask a brother, "How's your heart?" instead of asking him how he's doing. Because if you ask somebody how they're doing, they're just gonna say, "Fine, or cool, I'm all right," even though they might be ready to take themselves off the board.
Yep.
But I'll ask men, "How's your heart?" That often conveys that, oh, okay, he really wants to know what's going on with me. He don't want the generic answer. So you know what? Maybe I will open up. And then that can open the door for you to say, hey, man, you ever thought about, pulling on some supports, talking to people, talking to friends, talking to people, not trying to carry things on your own because, even strong men struggle. So that can kind of open the door to encourage men to come into this space.
Okay. Thank you. And, all of you work with men in some sort of way or capacity. So I'm gonna pivot off of Cliff's response. I'm actually gonna go to Mark because you have a lot of men that you see who come to you for grooming, which taps into their social life, taps into their confidence, their self-esteem, their self-worth. So, in essence, the work that you do definitely impacts myself as well. The work that you do affects men's mental health as well, because that taps into our physical self-esteem and self-confidence. I just got my haircut. You got me looking crispy, right? So so let me ask you, so how do you, I guess my question for you with the work that you do and the clientele that you have, how do you see your grooming work affect men's confidence and self-esteem?
Well, definitely. There's a direct correlation between how you look and how you feel. When you feel good, you do good. When you look good, you do even better. So it's definitely one of those things that when men come into the chair, they're talking, they're releasing the day or the week or the month, the year, or whatever's going on in their private life. Usually the barbershop is the man's first support group. And before they even go to a therapist, before they even talk to anybody, they're talking to the barber. I'm here, 15 years of experience, and I talk to a lot of brothers weekly. Some come weekly, some come bi-weekly. And we're always having conversations, and I'm always picking back up where we left off. That's a skill that I learned. Besides the cutting hair, that's one aspect. That's the physical aspect. But being able to remember conversations about last time they were there. Oh, you went out with your girlfriend. How did that go? How was the trip to New York? Or how was the birthday party? Things like that. Those things count, and those things matter to relationships with clients when you remember the conversations from before. So that part of it, I love it, and it's great to be able to be in this type of industry where I can talk to these brothers, I can counsel young kids, young men, even older men. You know what I mean? This is really, I'm only 36 years old, but I have clients that are well into their late 40s, 50s, and sometimes 60s that I'm able to even counsel them at my 36 years old of life. But I feel as though I had a lot of wisdom and to be able to talk to them and be able to counsel them, and even them counseling me. It's one of those things that it's a relationship balance. You know what I'm saying? They're talking to me, I'm talking to them, and we're constantly giving each other, bouncing off ideas and helping each other out in this thing we call life. So even bringing it back to the men's mental health, I mean, a month is great, but we need this all year round. Like, men need counseling all year round. We need each other. We need fellowship. We need brotherhood all year round, because men are suffering, not just in June. They're suffering all year round, especially around the holidays, birthdays. It could be a death of a family member. It's a lot going on, especially in these economic times as well, that it puts it on our shoulders. You know what I'm saying? I see it at the street level, because these men are coming in to get their hair because they take time to do that, but they're feeling the impact of the economic crisis that we're going through. Gas is high, groceries is high, and they're feeling it. And it's just one of those things that we talk all the time, and it's something that's imperative that we talk about this more often.
Thank you, thank you. Excellent response. I love that comment. I never thought about that ever in life. That yeah, it is the first like group therapy, group support group. I love that. I had never in my life thought about that. Thank you. That was wonderful. And Donald, because you zone in heavily with I know you work with men and women, but I know you have a lot of men who are a few things are going on. You know, there may be some anxiety, some depression, you know, some uncertainty because of finances and the times, and that can affect people's mental health and wellness as well. I guess I know that there's a whole lot that you could say concerning the present economic times and where people are, etc. So I'm a kind of start general, and then you can kind of go whatever direction you feel led to go. But what are you seeing with as far as men's financial health and how men are coping with these uncertain economic times?
Bottom line, I would say they're doing the best they can. They're doing the best they can. Um, and I'll use an example. So women have a certain way that they deal with finances because it's a form of security. Men look at finances from a standpoint of being a provider. And when can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So if a man doesn't have the money to provide for his family, that can be that can hit on his emotions in a way that a female would not understand.
Yeah.
And the pressures of society, I see it all the time. Like even, one of my neighbors told me his wife was upset with him because he lost his job and she was a police officer and I think he was in retail or something like that. And she was on him like, why you can't get a job? Why have you gotten a job? And I could see the writing on the wall that they were not going to last unless they got help. Um, the social media is damaging our culture, our families, from a perspective that, you have guys on there saying they pay their wife hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. And then you have a bunch of women saying, well, I wish I could find me a husband like that. Da, 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 da. And it's putting a lot of pressure on the household. And I'll share one more example of a client. So my female clients, they normally transparent. They normally tell me what's going on. So the woman says, my husband hasn't had his taxes done for years, and it's been hard for me to get them done. For him to encourage them to get it done. I never met her husband, and I said to her, and I may have done her taxes for like 2-3 years at that point. I said, don't pressure him. When he's ready, he'll come. And I said, I'll pray with you about it. This guy called me. And honestly, I was just like, is this Mr. Such and such? He was like, yeah, it's me. He said, bro, I need my stuff done. I said, I'm coming to your house to pick it up. He had a whole stack of documents. He's running his own business. And it was like a spiritual moment because when I took that load from him, he says, already I feel better.
Wow.
And I said, this is just a journey. This is just, you reached out. And I said, and I would not tell your wife that you reached out because that's between both of you guys. But you reached out. That meant that you were ready. And I'm telling you, guys just have a different way of looking at finances than, even what culture says. And it's different, when you have women that say, hey, I need to be the breadwinner of the house. I want this. They want that. It's different. So whatever questions you have.
Okay. All right. Well, actually, I'm gonna open that up to the floor. What do you guys thoughts about what he said about men and finances and just the talking about health and mental health, emotional health, financial health for men and even social health. What are your thoughts about the pressure that men feel to provide financially and in these economic times? I think two of your husbands. So I'll let the two husbands chime in first.
Is there are there wives watching this?
Uh, maybe. Probably not though, because it's a men's summer.
There you go.
Yeah.
You want to go first, Kevin, or I
I
can?
can go first. I think that's a very, very valid point. That I think whoever said it before, like men's going to do what men's going to do. But when it comes to that financial burden, we also keep that close to the chest. That yes, we want to hear it. We want to. The wife says what the wife says, but there's a thing that they don't really truly understand the weight behind that. It's a version that we can't even openly. If we do express it to them, at least this is my experience at times. If we express it, our financial concern, it would go over their head, or something that they just can't fully grasp. So a lot of men keep that to their chest, and I think that's a big emotional, and it's an emotional stress that they hold on to, of how do I figure this out there? Oh, how can I continue to be a provider? It's something that's in their wiring that we generally want to do. And as we're having this conversation now, it's what I'm learning more is that it's a conversation that even it's hard to like discuss amongst men, but the best way to really get through that is having that discussion through fellow men.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Thank you, Cliff.
Yeah, it's definitely a pressure. It's a huge pressure if, as Donald was saying, you base and stake your identity as a man and being successful on your ability to provide.
Yeah.
So what happens if your source of income gets pulled? Because we're seeing that now, right? You're seeing industries just disappear almost like overnight. So if you staked if everybody say, oh, you got a good husband, and your kids say, oh, you're such a great dad because you provide all these things, and you lose that, then what happens to your identity? So one guy I listened to, Jason Wilson, I don't know if you guys have ever seen him. Wrote a book like Cry Like a Man. He has a new book about being a comprehensive man. So men need to see themselves as more than just a provider, right? Because then if my mindset is I'm a provider, then as long as I'm doing that, I might think I don't have any other needs. I might think I'm hitting the bar. And one of the things my wife and I talk about, so I'm going on 22 years of marriage, is if I stake being a good husband on just providing, right, then how's that make me any different than before I got married, right? I had a job before I got married. Had a few jobs before I got married. So if I stake being a good husband just on work and provision, then what shifted? There's so much more to it. Yet for us men, how much is that ingrained in us? Did we grow up in households where the men we were around told us, hey, look, you just got to handle the money and handle business? Also, another thing Donald said to piggyback on it, Donald talked about how for women crave security, right? So like when I work with couples, oftentimes women see love and feel loved when they have security, financial security, emotional security relationally, where they know if they're in a monogamous relationship, you're not putting yourself out there, you're not for the streets, mental security. They crave security, right? Just like men often want to be respected, and that's how we feel love, right? So especially when you're talking about financial security, a lot of times men don't talk about things because they don't want to tell their lady we struggling or we in trouble and I'm feeling all this heat. So we often try to carry it by ourselves. That's why we do need community. We need community.
We do.
Because my wife knows this. I've told her this. There are certain things I don't talk to my wife about. I got men in my life that I talk to. I have mentors. I got other clinicians I'm close to that I talk to. Like I said, I go to rounds of therapy myself. I have friends. So there are just certain things I'm not going to talk to her about. Not because I have a problem sharing anything with her. And of course, she runs the line of you can talk to anything You talk about anything with me, say anything. But I'm pretty sure all of us have had that experience that if you did that, it backfired on you.
And it's interesting, and I'm looking at the dynamic of the people we have on, and some things that I know about you all, your life in the area of relationship health, which I'm gonna kind of come back to, because that is important as well. Kevin, I do want to pivot to you concerning men's physical health, because that's a big subject, it's a big topic right now. And I was talking to some people recently, and I talked with a lot of men about physical health. I'm on my own physical journey. You know, well, all of you know this, and Kevin, you know this for a long time. I'm on my own physical journey, and I know you do a lot of work with men, and you know, just about everybody here does some sort of, you know, fitness area regimen. Everybody has posted pictures and videos of them in a gym working out somewhere, doing some work, etc. I'm going to start with this general question, because I know this is what you heavily focus in. What role do you see physical health playing in a man's ability to? I know you're going to love this question. What role do you see physical health playing in a man's ability to lead, serve, and achieve his goals?
Well, you're right about that. I'm excited about this question.
I'm sure.
But we already led with this mantra, and I'm going to keep saying it until it's ingrained into everybody's head, is that the whole theme is that the king eats first, meaning, I said again, a better me is a better we. There's literally no kingdom without the king. You can't say kingdom without the word king before it. Now, with that said, I think a lot of us, especially during Men's Health Month, like, I think we need to up our value, reminding ourselves, if you are believers through Christ, that we are kings, we are priests, that we like to say steward, but we forget the kingship within us and need to up our value. And that's what physical fitness, physical health does for us, knowing that, like we said this before, the greatest lessons are caught, not taught. Like, men are going to do what they're going to do until they look at somebody and say, I want to be just like that. And that usually, at least from my experience, is the conversation opener of how do I get to that posture? How do I get that to that physique? But it's not just the physique, it's also the energy that shows up to it. It's how you present yourself in a room. It's how you carry yourself. It's when we talk about the providing, but it's also the protector aspect that we don't really talk about when it comes to being a husband, where you give your wife a sense of groundedness and security because you are grounded, because it's funneled through you as the head. So what does that start with? That starts with your physical presence. It means that if you're not taking care of yourself, I always grew up, and once again, same concept of like, we're going to do what we want to do. As a kid, I worked in a school system. I worked in a school system for 9 years, behavior risk kids. My question for them, or the constant question they constantly ask me, is why should I listen to you? And if they don't see something that within you that they want for themselves, they're going to go about their business and find something that's more attractive. So the physicality is not just about the abs, it's not about just the biceps, but it's also about presentation, how you show up. It's that presence of a king, because that's what we are called to be and steward as such. But once again, it's how you show up to lead by example.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And a pivoting question for all of the men here, and Kevin, you can certainly jump into this too. But you know, in the day and age where there's so many avenues for people to move toward their health and wellness goals, and you know, we have a lot of surgeries, we have pills, we have shots, we have injections, we have a lot of ways that people are moving in that direction, and not shaming anything or anybody for any of those. But what can, you know, how can men create sustainable habits around exercise, nutrition, and sleep? Anybody can jump in. How can men create sustainable habits around exercise, nutrition, and sleep? I will comment first. Actually, I'll say for me, it's pretty easy for me to get into a good exercise regimen or routine the challenge for me is what I eat. I'm a foodie and I love good food and I love to eat. So for me, one of the things that I realize with my busy life and schedule as a single male, I have connected to a meal prep program. I am paying for it out of pocket, but it is helping me stay where I want to be with my macronutrients. So that's a habit for me that I have put into place to kind of help me. But that's just for me. I'm curious to see what you guys feel about what can men do, what other sustainable habits around exercise, nutrition, and sleep. Sleep is important too. What kind of sustainable habits around exercise, nutrition, and sleep can men put into place?
I think well, for me, I go to the gym regularly, probably about 5, 6 days a week. And
Show
what
off.
I built up was what I tried to build up was my discipline in going to the gym, which started off with 1 or 2 days a week, and that lasted for a few months. Then I met a friend of mine. We became partners, and we would hold each other accountable and going to the gym. And then we upped our days from going from 1 to 2 days a week to 3 days to 4 days a week. I think that's important. Finding somebody that can be your accountability partner to help you go to the gym regularly. And then when you start seeing their gains, I don't know what it is, especially with men. We start seeing gains in other men. We were, oh man, I gotta do something different. I gotta catch up. Because I remember when me and my one of my good friends, his name is Aaron, we first started going to the gym regularly. He was surpassing me. Like he was lifting weight that I could only dream of lifting. And it took a few months, but being around him helped me to like push, what I'm saying, eat better. Make sure I'm getting my protein in, like Dion said, with the macros. Make sure I'm eating the vegetables more. Make sure I'm getting a lot more water intake. I'm going to sleep early. My pre-workout, my creatine, my whey protein, all those things I started to get those things and acquire those things. Even gym gloves was because I seen it in him, and he'd been going to the gym years before I was. But he struggled with, I would say, being able to go consistently. And we both started helping each other be accountable in that area. And it helped us both grow to the point where me and him started lifting the same amount of weight. And then after eventually he had a shoulder injury, I surpassed him. And he got his shoulder together, but I was able to, like, it's like a friendly competitiveness that men have with each other. So I believe that's one of those things that you need to have, is have an accountability person, somebody to go to the gym with, or somebody just to hold you accountable about what are you trying to do and what are your goals.
Okay, accountability helps. Absolutely, accountability for sure. That's a good one for sure. Anybody else? Anybody else?
Give somebody else a chance before I speak.
Okay, well, I'll go before the expert goes. For me, it's what grounds me before I go into the work. So I go pretty early in the morning, and that's how I set my day. When I don't go, I don't feel like I'm at my best, right? Because it settles me. When you put systems in place, it fits into my routine. Also, one of the things I learned is when I got back to being consistent in the gym, because I used to be consistent when I was in undergrad, right? But then I got married, life got to life, and I got up to 320. I was in terrible shape. Friend of mine was concerned about my health and pretty much scolded me till I went back to the gym, but he went with me. And then once I got back, I've just been rolling ever since. So it's really a system I have in place. That's what helps me be consistent. I love it.
A system.
Locked in with the food part now, mainly because when I went to my annual physical in December, I had slightly high cholesterol, and I was offended when my primary care said it. But she was like, look, I know you lift 6 days, 6 days a week. What's going on? How's your cardio? And I kind of looked at her and then looked away. She's like, well, how much are you doing? I said, 10 minutes. She said, 10-minute interval. I said, nah, I do 10 minutes, probably 3 days a week. Just warm up. She's like, you got to up your cardio. So I upped my cardio, really dialed in with my eating. And when I came back in 3 months later, I was down, I think I was down 21 pounds, so locking into that. The sleep part, that's a work in progress. But I know it's huge. I've seen the data. I've talked to people. So I'm working on disciplining myself more there.
Cliff, I think that's a work habit, hazard for people that do this type of work.
What, sleep?
Yeah, I struggle with that too.
Yeah,
for sure. Getting the recommended amount of sleep. So
yeah,
cool. I'm gonna let Kevin respond, and then Donald, I'm coming back to you with another financial question connected. So just give you a heads up. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, disclaimer also, I too struggle with sleep. So it's not, and why I say that also is that I think as men, we want to we think in forms of perfectionism sometimes, but it's instead of, when we talk about habits right now, I want y'all to start thinking like, what's the one thing we can do, or what's the one thing you want personally to level up in? So you have 3 facets where it comes to sleep. We said exercise, nutrition. What's the one thing that you can level up? And I can actually break down a few of them for you in a second. So, well, quick backstory just for how you start a habit. Once again, I'm going to keep to this King's first mantra. I think big picture, I think we need to understand, because a lot of us put everybody first before ourselves, that we got to understand the concept of who wins when you win. Who wins when you are at your best, when you have more energy, and also take a real life flip of who's losing if you are not at your best, or you are at 50% or low power mode if you're team iPhone. So just have a mental frame of understanding that there's no lukewarm middle ground, that somebody's either winning when you're at your best or somebody's slightly losing. And really, like, having that mental focus is really just sets the tone of seeking that accountability partners, of setting the tone of how you get the scheduling. So just once again, increasing your internal value of who you are as a man, because that's why we're here when it comes to this mental health summit, to just reaffirm and re-acknowledge that we are valuable as men beyond our work and so forth. So break that down. Let's break some stuff down for y'all. Sleep, once again, is something I struggle with, but the thing I would do is really, just to bypass it, is how do I prime myself to make sure that I have great sleep? So one thing we can do, if you have prime yourself with great exercise, great nutrition, sleep, a lot of times will take care of itself. Everybody knows that sleep is the magic pill when it comes to weight loss, fat loss, mental regulation, all the above. So I know my brother Mark is doing 5 days, 6 days a week. My sleep can't handle that. So right now I'm only 3 days, 4 days a week, 3 days mainly. So main thing is your body's on there. Be aware of where your stress level is at. Because if you're stressing out, those workouts not going to be no good. So build a consistency that works in your favor. So you not really need to fight against sleep, but make sure you're doing everything else that's working in your favor, if y'all follow me. This is for you, Dion. You said you struggle with the eating, right? Superman, I'm a Superman person. If you don't know, I'm all for knowing what is your kryptonite. I have some friends who will just say it will be chips and cookies. Sometimes I can't stand chips and cookies. I said, if that's your weakness, I'm just saying hearsay right now. If that's your weakness, that's your weakness, choose your kryptonite days. So for instance, make sure that your kryptonite is not running you, but you are managing your kryptonite because you know it's your weakness. So for instance, those chips and cookies will be Wednesday and Saturday at dinner time. So if that's me, that's a good example for me. So if you want to manage your kryptonite, you know where it's coming, but you also, it's compartmentalized that you know when it's coming. So you don't need to stray away or cut sugar completely, but really just position yourself to manage those weak points that you obviously know what we have to do. And at the end of the day, back to I keep calling you Dr. Cliff, but Dr. Cliff,
I'm Steve.
There it is. It's all about having a system, have a system, especially for us men, have a system that positions you to see yourself winning. That's why I like early in the morning, like you, Miss Professor Dr. Cliff. I'm just Cliff. Either way, I'm like that. Have a system that works in your favor that you can see yourself winning every single day. My focus is I win early, win the morning, win the day, try to win early as possible. So the rest of the day is ahead of me. So at the end of the day, it's all about just how you position yourself and systematize everything.
Thank you. That was good. Really good.
Hopefully that wasn't too much for y'all.
No. I had to think about that, and you're right with the kryptonite mine is butter pecan ice cream. So yeah,
There it is.
absolutely.
That's it. That's the only thing, Dion.
No comment. No, you will not on this live. So that could mean so much. That's an interesting statement. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna pivot. So, Mr. Donald, since you do so much work in the financial arena, just in a general sense, could you just give out the listening audience and particularly our men, 2 to 3 financial anything you want to share, 2 to 3 financial principles you think will just kind of help in this day and age to help men in particular with financial stability? Just 2 to 3 principles.
Have a budget.
I love that.
Budget for your personal. That is your threshold, your guidance that you can use to look at, like, what's my projection for the rest of this year. Also, I would say it may not sound financial, but have your estate planning done, that you gain ownership of your assets, that you basically put it into a trust. That is something that our families have not done over time, and it is hurting us continuously. And but you like I have an older gentleman, he's like in his 70s, and he's my client, and he has like 7 properties. And his wife she's not coherent. She's right now has dementia, and there's some things that prevents him from carrying that task out because she's not able to sign her own name and think on her own. So as men, we need to make sure that we're not just talking about leaving a legacy, but we document, that we put it into action, put it in the books that you have a legacy. So
Thank you.
yeah, could be more, but that's about it right now.
No, that's great. I think I have both of those in place. I don't 100% follow my budget. And Kevin was talking earlier, especially when I'm in travel mode, my budget gets adjusted a bit, but I do need to zone in on that a bit. So I do have a budget. And something I learned recently when I went to a business training, I did a 30-day financial audit to see where my money was going. And I was shocked at how much money I was spending on frivolous things. A lot of things were adding up from Apple Pay. So I saw, I saw that as a man, I took a moment to just do an audit of my personal finances. The other financial question I have for you, Donald, which we talked about the pressure with men and men's health and having to provide and be a provider and all of this stuff happening in today's day and age. Any tips for helping men balance? We can start with you and then we have other people chime in. Any tips on helping men balance providing for their families while avoiding financial stress and burnout?
There's so many ways to break that apart. In the perfect world, I would say this: nothing's perfect. But in the perfect world, you need to have streams of income. We live in America. What's balanced? The family wants balance. We talk about balance, but we really cannot afford balance until we have somewhere over $1 million in assets. And people may not think of those types of things like it matters, but in your, in a situation like I said, perfect family, but who's to say that one day you won't get divorced? Who's to say one day you won't have child support? Who's to say one day you won't have your job? I mean, we talk about like if we get into real life, real issues that people deal with, it's those surprises that we say life is lifing, and
Yep.
people don't know how to handle life. And how do you protect yourself? I think that we need to make sure we have things in place to just in case happens. If this happens, what do I have just in case? And I've said this plenty of times. We don't talk about enough in our community to have a prenup. Oh, well, you don't love me if you can, because that means you're playing. No, because you might go crazy. I don't know.
You're lying.
If we understood what even child support means, I'd rather pay my son, I'd rather pay my daughter to work for me and my business and write it off, and they can store that as a legacy for themselves for planning. And it's like, because we don't like, we're just talking about pieces. But when we deal with it from a trifecta standpoint, if you have life insurance, if you have a retirement account, if you have real estate, if you have like, then we're able to build legacy. You know,
You're right. It's so true. And this is a mixed bag. I will not call anybody out unless you want to share your personal information. But I know half of you are, a few of you are married, and a few of you were married. So
I was married. I'll just say that, like, hey, I mean, life happens.
Mark and Donald were married. Thank you, appreciate that. I wanted to have you all say it yourself first. And so life does happen, and since one of the areas has to deal with men's romantic relationship health, I'm going to put this out to the floor, and anybody can chop in, whether you're married or was married. Let's see. Let me see what do you say are some of the most common challenges that men face in relationships today, and how can they overcome them? What are some
Today? Look,
Let me move closer.
social media is a big storyteller. It is telling people, like, it's nice, but God bless anybody.
Yeah, one of the, and anybody chiming in through Facebook, you can, if you want to leave a question or a comment, you can, and I will see it. But yeah, what are some of the most common challenges that men face in relationships today, and how can they overcome them? Yes, definitely social media is one of them for sure. There's been a
I would
lot of
say,
damage to
oh,
relationships. Mark, go ahead.
I would say unrealistic expectations.
Oof.
There's a lot of that going on in our community. I don't know if it's, I just, I'm just going to talk about our community, the Black
Sure.
community. It's a lot of unrealistic expectations as the pressures on men have risen in the woman's eyes, in the Black woman's eyes, that we're supposed to have be completed, have everything done already, and that they just can come in and just be like, oh, this all I gotta do is just be a good woman, and whatever a good woman in their eyes is. It's just a lot of pressure on the men, and doesn't seem to be none on the women, because they feel as though, well, I have the degree, or I have my own house, I have this, that, and the third. Whereas the men, they may be working towards that, but they want them to be a finished product. And a lot of men are feeling like, well, well, hey, it's going to take some time. And if you're not with me here at the ground level, then when I get up there at that stage, then what value do I have? Because if I'm up there as the man that you may per se you want, then um, why would I want you? You know what I'm saying? When you might already have a ready-made family, or you may not be the woman that I'm like, I can get any woman at this level now. I'm making six figures, seven figures, whatever the case is. I could have the cream of the crop. Why would I settle for someone just here in Baltimore? I can go anywhere in the world and find the best of the best. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of just unrealistic expectations. And it puts a lot of pressure on the men, the
Mhm.
middle class men, or the men, the hardworking men, the backbones of our communities that are just trying to be able to provide for their families and be able to provide for themselves. It's just there's a lot going on economically out here that a lot of women aren't taking into account. Our women, because they have degrees, they are more educated, and they're being placed in these higher positions where some of these men are not.
Mark, we got a comment on IG. One of the brothers from the gym actually commented and said a lot of women just want to exist.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
agree. I
Ooh.
agree
They want the soft
wholeheartedly.
life.
Ooh.
Yeah, they want as the passenger princess treatment. They don't want to. They don't even want to think about anything. They want you to. They want to turn off their brain and have you think about everything. That's it. That's a real thing.
It is. And the thing is, what he's saying, and anybody watching, the women can vocalize their issue, like when they get in a divorce or the relationship didn't work, they go online and vocalize it. The men are suffering. The
Yeah.
men are depressed. The men are trying to balance child support with what they had. And it's like, you're basically taking money out of my pocket that was part of the family's pocket, and now I got to put all this money out there for somebody to take, and like when you look at it, we were doing this together. And now I'm doing this by myself trying to support this, and man, it's a lot. And so I can't imagine, like, I was in a relationship for 20 years. God bless my wife, ex-wife. She's who she is. There's no animosity, whatever anybody want to think. We're good. But I can't imagine doing that again. 20 years, I can't imagine it. Because like for me right now, I would be interviewing. This is like a job interview. It's a partnership interview. Are you a good partner? Can we build legacy, or is this just temporary? I mean, because forget the love part. I mean, the love can last as long as you make it last. But the partnership, the ups and the downs, the challenges, the family going ballistic, you got to deal with the weather of life with a person.
Oof.
And so the pressure on men is
Weather
to
of life.
compete with what social media is drilling into these women. And women, for one, I work with women in business, and women can get a woman can get a contract. A woman can get a contract to do $1 million job before a male owned business. So the women are pushed to be the providers,
Wow.
and the men have to sit back and just watch it and support it. And we have to find our way.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you both. So yeah. So make sure that Mark and Cliff, y'all call Cliff this week for a few sessions to help. I'm joking.
Well, hey, Dion, if I the kind of answer you, to throw a little something on your question, right?
Go ahead.
From a personal standpoint, but also from a lot of what you see clinically, right?
Uh-huh.
A lot of people, and I'll say men, a lot of men were never really told what a husband looks like, right? Or talked about how to develop a skill set around operating in that space, right? Because if you think about even how we're socialized, how we're developed, girls' first toy is often a baby doll. They get Barbie houses. They spend a lot of time dreaming about their wedding day, right? And this picture of what family looks like. I don't have any friends that talked about when we were younger, hey, boy, I can't wait to be a husband. Boy, I can't wait to be married.
Good point. That's a good point.
Now there are some guys that have seen life like that, right? But oftentimes, has anybody ever sat you down and talked about, do you know how to operate in this role of husband? I know I really didn't get that. And my father and I talk about this stuff now. But he didn't sit me down before I got married and said, you know, hey, this is what's coming. Because Donald, you hit it, love's not enough. There are plenty of people who are no longer together that still love one another.
Wow.
That will always love one another. But love's not enough to keep that relationship together. Both have to be committed. You have to do the work. Have you addressed any of your trauma? Because a lot of people bring those things into the relationship. Like I'll say 95% of the issues my wife and I had in those initial stages of marriage had nothing to do with our marriage. Had to do everything with what we brought in, our unhealed parts, our childhood wounds and traumas, or our misguided definitions. Mark, you hit it. These unrealistic expectations that we both had of one another, and when you do your typical 3 church meetings with your pastor for premarital counseling, and they go over them 5 areas: sex, married, kids, sex, money, kids, religion. They go over those areas, and then the rest of it is most of the time, well, y'all pray about it. You'll be all right. Like, man, I've been praying.
Facts.
I've been praying. What are you talking about? It's not working. I'm not praying right there. It's not working. No, it's so many of the parts, and then I'm gonna stop because I ain't trying to really commandeer a bunch of time. So many of the things that cause us to feel safety. Like I talk to people I work with a lot of times about parts. So I do parts work. Like who you are is a sum of a bunch of parts, right?
Yep.
So oftentimes the parts that show up in us that make us feel safe cause a lack of safety in those we're connected to. So have we addressed any of those things? So we inadvertently wound one another because there's areas of us that are bleeding that have never been tended to. We often think, oh, it's you. And then that's also why you could leave one partner, jump to another partner, run into the same space. Get rid of that one, jump into another partner, get in the same spaces. Because so many times it's things that we haven't addressed within ourselves. Sometimes it's a mismatch.
Yeah.
Kevin,
did you want to chime in at all with this?
Yeah. I'm going to go biblical with this. And it's real simple. I'm really set on like he who finds a wife finds a good thing. Now, that doesn't mean all the ladies out there are wives, because what I think is funny about Proverbs, the verse before it also says death and life is in the power of the tongue. So anybody who is breaking a man down, who is nagging, I think Proverbs did that on purpose, just me personally, but any form of breaking a man down, trying to say education, degree, all that stuff, that has nothing to do with a wife. So for me, when it comes to the biggest challenge for men is selection. Like, how do you block out the noise? Because there's a lot of social media minutia, whatever you want to call it, out there that's going to tell you to act this way. We get to do this type of way. We're put on the back burner. Women can say what they want. We already talk about they can vocalize stuff. And how do you stay grounded in who you are, whose you are, to actually focus on if you are to be a husband or that's your pursuit, to know that these are not just nouns, these are verbs. To husband, that's an action verb. Like that's something, if that's something you're willing and ready to commit to and do, and that's your choice. So just to keep it simple, it's at the end of the day, it's how do you keep yourself grounded, and also how you remove yourself to block out the noise to actually choose, select your ideal partner. Because I heard this from somebody, your partner, that's the greatest decision you can make, because they're either going to bring you up or they're going to tear you down. And it's forever, or supposed to be.
Yeah, thank you. So the flip side of that, there has to be some qualities that are pretty important for building a healthy and lasting romantic relationship, right? There has to be some qualities. What now concerning financial stuff, I Donald is my personal accountant, and we talked about this a bit too. At this point in stage with me, with business and assets and etc., there's no way, and everything you all talked about, there's no way if I execute what Kevin said, the he that findeth, and I find, there's no way in 2026, there is no way I'm getting married without a prenup. No way possible. It's not happening. That's a non-negotiable for me. So, but that being said, I'm sure there's some qualities that are important for building a healthy and lasting romantic relationship. Cliff, I know you do still work with couples. Me and couples, we had a divorce, so I'm done with them. But can you briefly give us a few principles you think are important for you and being married 22 years?
21, it'll be 22 in December.
Wow. Can you give us a few tips for building a healthy and lasting romantic relationship?
Oh, definitely. And I'll inject some of me, and then I'll inject, general. For me, being a believer, we've rooted everything in the word as far as marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's kept us together. We met in the same ministry. That is not a guarantee that your marriage is gonna last.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we knew who we were before we got together, right? So we knew that for me, the requirement is that you love God more than you loved me. Because you're not always going to be enamored with me. I did understand that part. Just like I'm not always enamored with her. You go through things. You go through spaces and patches. We said the word was going to be the final authority and the foundation for our relationship. So commitment is something that people have to look at. Are you willing to commit to the work of having a healthy relationship? Because it's not healthy just because. If you look at a garden, right, you can plant seed in a garden. The sun's going to shine. It's going to rain. You're going to have whatever. But if you don't tend to that garden, it's not going to flourish. It's going to die. If I don't water it, if I don't take care of the weeds, if I don't give it what it needs, from a nutrition standpoint, it's going to wither and die. Same thing with relationships. What are you putting into it, right? And it's seasons. Like everybody here works businesses, right? Sometimes the challenge is, how do we balance during different seasons being able to even invest in that relationship? Are we still dating one another? Are we communicating? Communication is another thing, especially when you're talking about growth. Because as you grow, are you keeping the person that you're in a relationship abreast of the growing? Are you communicating? Not that we have to grow on the same level, not that we have to be growing in the same things, but are we communicating and letting each other into each other's lives as far as the growth? Because contrary to popular belief, it's not infidelity and all these other things that really destroy relationships. What I see more than anything is the drifting. I thought this is who you were when we got together. Now I don't really recognize you, because we didn't stay connected. And you have 1,000 things that can affect your connection.
Quick question about that. But also, if people been together like five to 10 years, can't people like change? And then there has to be a rediscovering of that person?
Yeah, people do change. The research says every 5 years around, you go through like major changes into who you are and kind of how your personality, how you do things, right? You go through these major growth changes. And so you're exactly right. If you have to stay connected. Also, you have to be able to adapt. When you see those changes, are you willing to adapt?
Wow.
Because the woman I married 21 years ago is not the same woman I'm with today, and vice versa. I often tell her, thank God I'm not the man she married 21 years ago. She likes living risky, because I wouldn't have married him. You know what I mean?
That's funny. Okay.
But it's, so you have to be able to adapt. You have to have that commitment. You have to be willing to adapt. You have to communicate. And it has to be honest communication, not surface level, but a willingness to be open and vulnerable. Like when I work with couples, if I tell women this, if your man ever opens up and if he ever shows some vulnerability, which one of the greatest definitions of vulnerability I've ever heard is the capacity to be wounded. So when you're vulnerable, you can be wounded and hurt. So if I get vulnerable with the woman that I love and it gets weaponized, used against me, you hurt me with it, you will probably never see that version of that man ever again.
Ever.
Because even in his nervous system, he'll get wired to, if he wants to go there, he's like, we're not safe there. Go here, but we're not safe there. And vulnerability, which really is a strength, is a part of having a healthy, thriving, flourishing relationship. Because I should be able to go into those spaces with my wife. Yeah. So I, and even in, even if not talking about marriage, even in committed deep relationships, right? Before you get married, or some people ain't getting married again. Some people told me, look, you can offer me $50 million. And I ain't never, ever married.
There's probably we're coming to closing up, but there's probably one or two people on this broadcast who's probably said that before, as far as getting married again ever in life. But
I'm not opposed to not getting married, but it couldn't be. It would have to be with the prenup, as Donald said. It would have to be with a prenup, or it would have to be on our own terms. We come up with our own contract, because I'm not doing the government contract. I don't believe the word God wanted us, the government, to be involved in our marriages. And I believe that a lot of men they're really shooting themselves in the foot when they're signing these contracts that they don't have no idea what they mean, what the stipulations mean after, if it doesn't work, that it doesn't work. You know what I mean? That's why we got car insurance in case of an accident. Not because you want to have an accident, but in case of an accident. And just like with marriage, you don't want to get divorced. I don't really know any man that really wants to get divorced, but it happens. So you have to protect yourself, because no one's going to protect you. You have to protect yourself.
Thank you.
From being financially ruined.
Okay, good stuff. So, gentlemen, tonight we have talked about men's spiritual health, physical health, social health, financial health, and relationship health. So what I'm going to ask you all to do as we wind down, I'm going to ask each of you to, from any of those areas or your particular area, just share 1 minute parting words with our listening audience. Let people know how they can contact you or reach you, as well as anything new or projects you have on the horizon, anything you're working on, etc. So, Kevin, we're going to start with you.
All right. I'm going to keep it real simple. When it comes to especially being aware during this time, Men's Health Awareness Month, I encourage everybody to acknowledge their value as king. So that's why I continue to say king eats first. Make sure that you put the king first. You understand your value. A better you, a better me is a better we. When you win, everybody else around you win. There's no downside. You are the ultimate ripple effect. So find time to dedicate to understanding yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and learn how to recycle that as a daily habit. You can find me on Facebook at Kevin Franklin or kevinfranklin.jr on Instagram.
Okay, thank you. Cliff?
Kind of piggyback on what Kevin was saying. I think the biggest thing I hope men heard is that health is comprehensive. It's not just one area. It's spiritual, it's mental, it's financial, it's physical, it's social, and that all the areas are important for you in your life. Also, if you're coming from a mental standpoint, the way you think, it affects how you feel. How you feel drives your behaviors, your actions, and how you show up. So if you can address your thinking, It's going to address all these different areas in your life. Poor thinking, negative feelings, negative behaviors. Improved thinking, addressing how you think. It's going to improve your feelings. It's going to improve how you show up, some of the actions you take, how you move in life. You can find me on Facebook, Clifton Bright Jr. You can find me on Instagram, Clifton_Bright_LCPC_ underscore before the LCPC.
Okay. Donald.
You don't have to pay Uncle Sam if you do it the right way. You don't have to submit to the way the system is designed if you have it set up the right way. So I would say, and I saw Mark laughing, I would say, if you want to have a serious conversation about estate planning and really preparing and setting up your legacy for your kids, for your grandkids, or for whoever that you want to leave your legacy to, you can reach me on social media, Donald L. Butler. That's on all platforms for the most part. My phone number, if you want to text me, is 571-651-8202. And we'll look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Mark?
Look better, feel better, show up differently. People respond differently. Confidence increases. One of the biggest threats to men today is isolation. A man can have money, a business, a house, and a family, yet you still feel lonely. Also, I just want to leave you with this. Men's social health isn't just about having friends, it's about having connection, accountability, and community. I've learned behind the barber chair that a haircut can boost confidence, but conversations can change lives. Every man needs a place where he can be seen, heard, and challenged and supported. For many men, that starts with a simple conversation. My name is Mark. You can reach me at my social media is Mark, MARC_UR_barber. You guys, I think on Facebook and Instagram that. Also, I'm working on a virtual reality barber system simulator that be able to help future barbers learn how to cut hair virtually from anywhere. I'm trying to get into different schools. I wanted to get into barber schools. I wanted to be in workforce development for people transitioning from prison back into society, even just youth trying to figure out their way in life. I believe that being a barber has changed my life, and so it has impacted my life in so many great ways that I know that the future barbers will be able to do the same thing. And it's such a rewarding career that can take them to places they never thought they could go. So you can reach me again on my Instagram and my Facebook at Mark Your Barber, MARC_UR_barber.
Thank you. And by way of reminder, we talked tonight about various aspects of men's health and wellness. And for the men, here is a picture of my 30-day scripted men's journal, which takes you through a journey in improving your overall mental health, wellness, social health, emotional health, financial health, etc., with prompts and video descriptions. It is on Amazon, A Black Man's Journey to Navigating Non-Negotiable Self-Care. Reminder, this will be stored on YouTube under DMV Therapist, as well as on my personal Facebook page under Dion Brown. Please like, share, and invite other men in particular to check out this broadcast. I'm going to ask that you gentlemen stay around for a second as we close up. But I want to thank our listening audience. We have people tuning in from YouTube, Facebook, as well as there's a chat going on right now on Instagram as well. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in to this Men's Health Summit and to our wonderful guest tonight.